Okay, welcome back to the final video, and it is pretty much done. Just ignore the fact that the hood right now looks like a Pringles potato chip. We'll get back to that in a minute. So obviously it's not done, because you know that. But again, ignore that. It's done. So let's take a look at the final assembly here. First off, starting right down here, we have the, I forget what they call them, the 3D chromed stars that go in the middle of the hubcaps. Those are from model motor cars, and I don't know if that's picking up very well or not. Probably not focusing very well. So the centerpieces, again, casted and chrome plated. You have to paint the black in the triangle sections. You have to paint the black there. The black ring is a vinyl sticker, again, for model motor cars. We talked about the bumper mounting and the license plate and the lights, I think, in the last video. I now have the exhaust tips for model motor cars put in, so those are done. And moving around the side, obviously the doors are on, fenders are on and square. And something I almost forgot, which would have been embarrassing, is the little emblem right there in the front. I was looking through the box of parts and I saw that and I'm like, holy cow, I almost forgot to put that on there. And again, the front bumper, front license plate. And one other thing from, actually two other things from model motor cars. One, the spare tire wrench. That is used to hold on to spare tires. As you can see, I got a different wrench on there. I did not use the one for model motor cars because the hole that is supposed to be threaded was too big. It just slipped right over top of the threads. There's a threaded post coming out of the car that the tires go on, and then the wrench screws down to hold the spare tires on. And that just slipped right over top of those threads, and you couldn't tighten it down. I don't know if that was just this one that they screwed up on when they made, or if we would have ordered another one, maybe it would have been the exact same way. I have no idea. I'm assuming it's just this one. Otherwise, people would have complained about it a long time ago. So I took the original Pocher part, and the problem with the original Pocher part is that it's too long, it's too round, it's too bulky. So I cut it shorter and I filed the edges flat and square, and then I dipped it in a liquid tin and gave it a little bit of a bend just to try to help match the photos of the real one a little bit better. So that is better. Well, it fits better, screws on better than this at least. So I'll probably just throw this in with the rest of the tools. The kit comes with some basic hand tools, some wrenches and a hammer, pliers, and I still need to paint those up and make those look kind of nice. So I'll probably just throw that in with it. I don't think this costs too much, so I'll put those in with the other hand tools. The other thing for model motor cars is the rear view mirror. And I think I showed you the wipers in the last video. But the rear view mirror, you know, when I was thinking about how I was going to mount that, I was really concerned about, you know, how am I going to hold that in place while the glue sets? And what if it got bumped or knocked? It could very easily get knocked off. And what if it got knocked off when the customer was unboxing it and putting it away? You know, how the heck's he going to hold it in place while the glue is setting? And that tiny little rear view mirror part was really kind of stressing me out until I had what I think is a brilliant idea. Check this out. That's a magnet. I got rid of the original model motor cars base and I glued on a neodymium magnet. And then I glued on a little metal piece, and so now that just magnetically sticks on there. Which means you can also actually kind of adjust it. Kind of. You can kind of move it back and forth a little bit. So now I can just kind of put that in its own little padded box with this, and then when he sets it up, he can just stick that in place and not worry about it. Not worry about it breaking off, because it just sticks on with a magnet. So I'm kind of proud of that idea, proud of that fix, and it looks cool. So back to the hood. I think this is the last thing I need to talk about. When I very first started building this, I spent a ton of time, you guys might remember, slicing the hood into strips, holding it into position, bonding it all back together so that it would fit perfectly. I'm realizing now that I probably should have done that last, because after I finalized the body to the frame, now I did test fit that, I fitted that to it with the body on the frame. But for some reason, things move. So when I put the body back on the frame after paint, it wasn't as good. And then when I put the fenders on, it was even worse. I put the doors on, it got even worse. Bottom line is, when I put the hood back on for good, that corner was sticking up about a 1/16 of an inch too high. And I took pictures of it, showed the customer, and yeah, I honestly, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to think. I spent a lot of time, now before I showed pictures to the customer, I spent a lot of time like trying to fit it, like taking it off and tweaking things, sanding some edges a little bit. You know, the edges are easy to touch up with paint, thinking maybe that the edges were holding it up. And I tried making it fit, and it just would not fit. And I couldn't figure out why it wasn't fitting. You know, normally if something doesn't fit, you sand off the parts that are not allowing it to fit. But I couldn't even figure out why it wasn't fitting. It wasn't making any sense to me. And so we emailed back and forth, and we agreed for me to just fix it, whatever it took. And my first thought was I was going to slice it from here all the way down, move that down to where it needs to be, bond it back together. But I had another idea I wanted to try first. So I heated it from the back side with a heat gun. Actually, before I did that, what I realized, let me back up a bit. So what I did, I took the side panels back off. And I put the top on. And I noticed that when I push these down to fit, because they would, but when I push those down to fit, the front popped up about, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch. And when I pushed the front down to fit, this was fine, but both corners came up maybe 1/8 of an inch. So when I made this fit in front, these two corners are up about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm thinking, well, the curve just isn't right. Well, that should be easy. Just heat it up with a heat gun and bend it to fit. So on the back side of the panels, I sanded the plastic down from about here, from here down to here. I sanded like a channel to thin the plastic out. And actually I had to sand out a lot more. So about like that much down to here. I thinned down the plastic to about half the thickness. I heated it from the back side with a heat gun and just manually bent it to shape so that it would fit. I had to do a little bit on this side, a little bit of this side, but mostly on this side over here. And now it's, I mean, it could go down maybe just a tiny bit more. Yeah, it naturally sets there. It used to be like that. But now, actually, yeah, it could go down just a tiny bit more. So I'll do just a tiny bit more. But then I need to spend a lot of time blocking that out flat, getting some body fill in it, and resanding flat, and then prime, paint, clear. And then hopefully this thing should then be done and ready to ship. So let me fix that. I'll get back to you here in just a second. Okay, I know that I said I was going to finish it and then come back when it's done. But I just wanted to give you a quick update because I kind of changed my mind. The heating and bending was working okay, and it was good. It just wasn't good enough. And I was realizing that I was spending a lot of time taking it off, going to the heat gun, bending it, putting it back on, taking it back off, heating it, bending it, putting it back on, just constantly back and forth. Every time it got a little bit better. But I noticed that I was having to like push it down in order to get it down right. And these corners just seemed like they were too tight. They needed to come out this way a little bit. So I was wasting way too much time with the heat gun. So I changed my mind. That's probably not the best method. I thought I had a great idea, but it just wasn't working out. So I went ahead and just took it to the bandsaw. I cut it from here to there, and I cut it from here to there on both sides. And then I taped the front down flat. I taped the back corners down where they needed to be. And that opened up a gap there. So that piece of white right there, that's styrene. That's just a styrene block spacer that I put in there. I did another one over there. That moved the corners out. Now it sets down a lot easier. I don't have to force it down. It sets down much easier. And actually the front curve fits better than it did before. That fits right where it needs to be in each corner. So then I've been filling in with my melted red plastic that I showed you earlier. And just kind of building up the thickness here. And that's pretty close where it needs to be here. And that's pretty close here. I need a little bit more here. And I'm thinking I might just do one more coat of that melted red plastic, and that'll be good enough. I can start sanding everything smooth. Then I can go in with the automotive body fill, and then finally get it painted and done. But it sits on there. It's not as tight. You can see it wiggles just a little bit, which I think is good. That means it's not stressed down on there tight. So yeah, I'm thinking this is my new thought. It seems like I change my mind on this every time I do this. I think the best way to do this hood, and this is for all of you who are starting one of these or thinking about starting one of these, my advice to you, and it's what I'm going to do next time. Now keep in mind, make it very clear, I'm never going to do one of these again. But when I do, I'm going to save the hood to the very, very last. I'm going to get everything done just the way it is right now, everything done and final. Then I'm going to do the hood, and I'm not going to mess around with it. I'm just going to cut it from here to here completely in half, from here to here completely in half, both sides. Tape it would be 6 pieces then. I'll go ahead and have the hinge on, so those 2 pieces are held together with the hinge. So I'm going to tape all those pieces down where they need to be, sitting and fitting perfectly, and then bond them all together, and then body fill, sand, paint, and be done with it. Because I wasted a lot of time futzing around with this, and I should have just saved it to last and cut it, bonded it, and been done with it. So anyways, now what I'm going to do, one more fill, sand, fill, paint, and be done. So we'll get back to you when it's done, hopefully. Okay, just a quick update. It has been like several days since what you just saw a couple of seconds ago, because it took way longer than I expected to get the hood to fit right. It's right over here. I finally got the clear on it. It looks a little, it'll buff and polish. I got several good coats of clear. Probably one more coat than I needed, but that's good because once that's cured, it's still tacky now, but once that's cured, that'll get wet sanded down, buffed and polished, and then it should be perfect. Now, while I was waiting for paint to dry, I got the side body label on there, and I got the engine ID plate right there. Now, I looked at several pictures of the model that people have done, and I've seen them put that engine plate here. I've seen them put it on the other side. I've seen them put it on the engine block itself. I think the instructions actually tell you to put it here, but on the other side. But when I looked at photos of the real car, I saw photos of the real car with the engine ID plate right there. So that's where I put it, and that should be correct. And also, according to reference for the real car, there should only be one of those on this side and not on the other side. Now, these came from Model Motor Cars, and again, I think I've said before, they are not water slide decals. They're just printed on photo paper, and that's it. So you got to cut those out very carefully. And apparently, these right there, those two, and these two are for a different Mercedes. For this Mercedes, we wanted this one on the left side and that one under the hood. And of course, those, well, we got the chrome-plated cast bronze for those. We don't need those. The steering wheel kit came with that, so we didn't need that. But when you cut these out, what I highly recommend is to go around the edge with this chrome, that liquid chrome pin. Just go around the cut edge. That way, that kind of helps give the illusion that these are metal placards. It gives a metal edge and not a white paper edge. And I don't know how well you can see it, but that just helps with the cut edge around here, so it looks, again, more like a metal emblem and less like it was just cut out of a piece of paper. So anyways, I'm going to stop talking and let that cure for a couple of days, and then I'll get back with you when the hood's all together and it's on here. This is all dusty. I need to spend a lot of time dusting it and polishing it again. I don't know how many times I've dusted this thing off, but this black paint just collects every little speck of dust floating in the air. It's like a dust magnet. So I'm going to have to dust and polish all that off again, get the hood on it, and then we'll get back with you when it's all done and ready to show. Okay, so I'm not really sure what to say right now, because from right now to what you just saw a couple of seconds ago, it's been at least 4 weeks. Because I thought I had the hood done, and you know, I don't remember what I said like 4 weeks ago in the last video. But if I remember right, I was having a problem with the hood fitting, so I had cut it and pushed it in place and rebonded it, and I was in the process of doing that. Well, I did that, and I had it all painted and polished, and I put it back on, and it didn't fit again. The chrome didn't line up. So I did it again. I cut it, rebonded it, put it back together, and it fit. I test fitted it before I clear coated it. And then I got it all painted and polished, or clear coated and polished, put it back on, and it didn't fit again. And I think what was happening, remember I said that I was using melted plastic. Remember I was using the base plastic melted in some solvent. And I even said, I think I said, I don't remember if I did or not, but I think I said that this shrinks as it cures. So don't put it on too thick. I thought I was putting it on thin enough, and it would dry enough that I could sand it. And I put it on and it still fit, so I painted it. But I think what was happening was it had dried just enough so I could sand it and paint it, but in the time it took to clear coat it and polish it, it cured just a little bit more, shrinking, making that warp and making it not fit. Long story long, or whatever, I ended up cutting it apart, rebonding it like 3 times, and finally I got smart, and well, I finally figured out what was going on. I'll never say I got smart, but I finally figured out what was going on. At least I thought I knew what was going on, so I did something different, and now it fits. I used absolutely very minimal of this. Oh, and by the way, I think at one point I was heating it with a heat gun and trying to stretch it and bend it into shape with a heat gun. That just was taking forever and it just was not working. It was getting worse. I abandoned that idea. Um, Went back to just cutting the hood panel. And again, I did it like 3 or 4 times, maybe I think 3 times. Um, but then I clear coated it, and then I had a blemish in the clear, and trying to get rid of that, I sanded through the clear and had to redo the clear and repolish. It's just been, I don't want to say a nightmare, but that hood is cursed. That hood has caused me more grief than anything else on the entire car. But I learned a lot. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. I'm sure the customer might disagree with that, but for me, I learned some stuff. I learned a lot. I learned what not to do, and I learned how to get a decent finish. But it is fitting now, and I don't want to brag, but I think this is probably the best fitting Pocher hood I have seen. I shouldn't say that. There's some really good modelers out there. I've seen some really good fitting hoods, but I can tell you, if you ever see a Pocher model where the hood fits perfectly, whoever built it spent a ton of time getting that to fit right. So just kind of gives me a whole new appreciation for fitting the hood and everything on this thing. But um, I don't know if you've heard the phrase, how the saying goes, perfect is the enemy of done. I could probably keep tweaking and polishing and primping on this for another year. But I think I've got it as perfect as I can get it. Um, I'm proud of this. I think it turned out nice. I'm liking it. This will be the last build video. I might do just another quick video of just a bunch of different pictures and shots and stuff like that. No voiceover or anything. Just a bunch of pictures of it completely done. I'll probably still do that, maybe. But I'm going to call this one done. Let me put the camera down, and I'll show you some other stuff that I did. It's just some smaller stuff that I did for it. So let me put the camera down. I'll get right back to you here in just a second. Okay, so I won't be putting the camera down because my camera stand just broke, and I got no way of setting the camera down except for maybe resting it on top of a box or something, which I'll probably have to do in a second because there is something I want to show you where I'm going to need both hands. But for now, one thing the guy wanted for this, he wanted to be able to display it with like one side up, or maybe the front up or the back up or something, because his display case has like a mirrored bottom. So he wanted something to display it up. Now the kit comes with these. So you've got 2 stands like this that go under the chassis there. That'll raise the side up a little bit. There's 2 of those, and there's 2 of these. And those go under the front lower wishbone to hold the front up there. And there's a picture in the instruction manual that kind of shows that. So there's 2 of each of those. So that's just to raise the whole model up. That's to keep the weight off of the wheels. Now, right now, and the way I've built it, I've got a stand under it like that I 3D printed. That just keeps the weight off of the wheels. So right now those wheels are just barely off the ground. So that's just something I made just to hold the weight of it off the wheels while I'm building it. But to prop it up at an angle the way he wanted, my first thought was wheel ramps. So I made a set of these wheel ramps. This is aluminum, and I forget the gauge or the thickness, but they're pretty stout. They'll hold the weight of the car like perfect, no problem. Those are actually quite difficult to bend. So I got 2 wheel ramps. So obviously you can put one into the front, one in the back there. That'll put it up onto its side. You can kind of see how tall they are there. So that'll kind of put it up onto its side. And then I found on eBay, I found these guys. Look at those. They're made for like 1/10 to 1/8 scale RC cars, but these work like a normal jack. Or not a jack, but a normal jack stand. Raise it up, flip the lever, so you could adjust that any height you want. And those are really cool. So he could put that under the chassis and just raise it up as high as he wants on the side or the front or whatever he wants. So if you don't like these, you're not going to hurt my feelings. It's not like I spent countless hours making those. But you have a choice. You could do those, or these from the kit, or put these in there, whatever height that you want. Those actually, like I said, I found those on eBay. That was from that. That's their company, I guess, but they sell them on eBay. On eBay, they were only like 20 bucks and $5 shipping, I think it was. So they weren't $30. But there's several different types of those on eBay. These are the ones that I thought kind of looked the nicest. And they're metal, and I like those. Those are cool. But so he's going to get those, and of course those with the kit. Now, one other thing. There's a key for this, and I had an idea to try to make a key thing. What do you call those? A little keychain thing. So I've got a little leather tag. So that was out of the from the leather that the interior went on, and put on one of the decals, and then I just put a little dot of the UV curable resin to kind of make it look like a key tag. There we go. Finally got that to focus a little bit better. But yeah, that's the little key thing that I made for it. If you don't like it, cut it off. Again, I didn't spend countless hours making it, but just an extra little thing I thought would look kind of cool. But like I said, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't like it. But yeah, there's that. Now, the kit also comes with tools. So let's take a look at these tools. Of course, I painted the tools. So you've got a pair of pliers. You've got a little wood handle screwdriver. Try to get the light to cooperate. Little wood handle screwdriver. And a hammer. Now this is the wrench that he bought for the spare tire, but the hole that Model Motor Cars put in there is too big and it doesn't thread on. So if you remember in a previous video, or maybe it was early this video, I really don't remember what I've already done. I just modified the kit piece to look more like this, but that's going to go in the tool bag. And then this weird looking wrench thing, not really sure what that is, some kind of wrench. And then 2 wrenches. And to store those, now I made a tool bag. I'm not a good tool bag maker, so I'll show it to you if you promise not to laugh. You know, if I had $1 for every time but here's the tool bag, and it's just a pouch of the leather, and I've got a strap to roll it up. So basically, see if I can do this one-handed since my camera thing broke. But you just put the tools in there any way you want, I guess. Now again, like I've said, if you don't like my tool bag, it's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm sure there is somebody out there who can make a much nicer tool bag than this. You might want to look online, see if you can find a nicer tool bag, but that folds down and it rolls up. I'm going to have to put the camera down for this. I'll show you what it looks like all rolled up and fastened. Okay, so there it is, all rolled up and fastened. I just made that little loop out of a piece of aluminum wire. I'm sure there's a nicer, better way to do this. I'm not a leather tool bag maker, but you could probably roll it up neater as well. But again, that's where all your tools go. Like I said, if you don't like the tool bag and if you can find something nicer or a better way to store your tools, by all means, throw that thing away. You're not going to hurt my feelings at all. But there's the tools, there's your stand, there's your keys, and there's your car. There's a shot of the interior and the back and the side and the front So anyways, honestly, I don't know how to end this video. So I'm just going to stop talking. I'm going to tell you, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging in with this long build series. This has been going on for over a year, I think. Probably over a year. And yeah, I'll be glad to get it to the owner, but I'm going to be sad to see it go. So again, thanks to all of you who tuned in and watched and commented and liked and all of that good kind of stuff. And so now I have to ship this. But anyways, as always, this video is way too long. But thanks for watching.